Today we'll be covering Chapter 16, which is summarizing. Within this chapter, we'll discuss summarizing, paraphrasing. So the quote for this chapter is, "There's a great difference between knowing and understanding. You can know a lot about something and not really understand it," by Charles F. Kettering. So within this, the author of the quotation above says there's a difference between knowing and understanding. What does this mean? So you need to discuss what this means. Write it down. Be prepared to discuss it. What do you think he means by this, and do you agree or disagree with this? So make sure you're prepared to answer this question. Now, the learning outcomes in this chapter, the first one is understanding summarizing. The second one is learning about reading strategies. The third is reading and reacting to a summary. The fourth is writing a summary, and the fifth is practicing additional summary writing. So, what is summarizing? The physical act of writing, recording one word after another, brings your thoughts into focus. So this is summarizing. So writing down one word after another to help you bring your thoughts into focus. In other words, reflecting. Writing a summary tells you how well you understand the material and also helps you to remember what it is that you've read. So summarizing, just like reflecting, is very important. They help you to understand what it is that you've just read. Summarizing is an excellent way of becoming actively involved in your reading. If you remember in Chapter 2, we discussed active engagement while reading, so summarizing helps you to do this. Now, learning outcome 1, understanding summarizing. So summarizing is using your own words except for any specific instances. For examples, dates, specific names. You wouldn't use your own words with that. You would use those are specific instances of things, so you would record that word for word as is. Essential words or ideas also from the text should not be changed, but for the most part, remember to use your own words because you remember your own words, as we discussed previously. Summarizing also helps you to share main ideas, and it leaves out the details and examples. So again, remember, summarizing leaves out details and examples and only gives you the main idea. Now, we practice summarizing every day. In what ways do we practice summarizing? What kinds of ways do we summarize? For example, when you're conversing with someone, you're summarizing. You're telling someone maybe how your day went, maybe a story of something that occurred, or you may be telling someone a story of something that someone else told you. So in conversation, that's an example of summarizing. What are some other examples of summarizing that we use every day? Make sure you write some of those down and be prepared to discuss them. Now, one thing you should know is summarizing versus paraphrasing. So paraphrasing, it too is in the author's own words, but the difference is that it does not reduce the information it doesn't reduce the text to the basic meaning. At times, paraphrasing can be longer than the original text in that it includes details, explanations, and also summarizes the text. Summarizing in itself, it only gives you the main ideas. So again, summarizing only gives main ideas. Paraphrasing is in the author's own words. It does not reduce the text to the basic meaning and explains the full meaning of a reading. And again, it can be longer than the original text. Learning outcome 2, learning about reading strategies. So strategy 1 is using a table diagram. A table diagram is very useful for summarizing. The challenge is keeping track of the main idea and key supporting points. The graphic organizer that you can use for this is a table diagram, and it works very well. So this is just a sample of a table diagram. So on the top, the darker green, you have the thesis or your main idea. That's what you would write there. So the thesis is the main idea, and then below that is supporting points. So additional points that you would use to support the thesis or the main idea. So we're going to write this out, and we're going to use the death penalty as an example. It's a good topic to argue. So let's just say we are doing the death penalty here, and we're doing a table diagram. So here's the table diagram. So this will be support 1, I'll call it S1, support 2, support 3, and support 4. And up here should be your thesis, or your main points. Same thing. So let's just say in this example, the main point is, let's see, the death penalty is, we can say that the death penalty is a rightful punishment. So this is my main points, that I want the reader to know that the death penalty is a rightful punishment. So under S1, S2, S3, and S4, I would give my reasons for why the death penalty is right. So these are my reasons. So this is what it would look like. So I'm going to zoom in on this so that way you guys can see it a little bit clearer. But on the top is going to be where you would put your thesis or your main point. I zoomed in too much. Would be where you put your thesis or your main point. That's here. So my thesis is the death penalty is a rightful punishment. And then S1 is my first support, second support, third, and fourth. And these would be my supports. So if you see, you take this all together. This is just a table. You take this all together and it can help you develop a paragraph. Although it would be a very simplified paragraph, but this is just a basic start. So someone could say the death penalty is a rightful punishment. A reason why the death penalty is a rightful punishment is because, and then you would give S1. In addition to, then you could say whatever that is. The death penalty is also right because this, that, and the other. So those would be your points. So remember this table, because it will be discussed again. So remember the idea of the table. That will be discussed again. Now, learning outcome 2. This is learning about reading strategies continued. So strategy 2, understanding the structure of writing. Part 1 introduces the topic and states the thesis or the main idea. So again, you want to remember that your introduction will always give you the main idea, and it should contain the thesis statement every time. Thesis statement might not be the first sentence. It's probably not going to be because you'll need to have background information, but it always needs to be within the introduction, part 1. The middle paragraphs, they support and develop the thesis. So the middle paragraphs are going to develop the idea within your thesis statement. So that's going to be the support, how your thesis statement stands. That'll all be in the middle. The closing part, it usually reviews what has been said and may offer an additional idea or two. Now keep in mind that when you are doing your conclusion should not be one sentence or two sentences basically saying, okay, I'm done, here's my paper. Your conclusion is supposed to restate your thesis statement. Then it's going to give you a summary of everything that was said. You've talked for X amount of pages. Now, why have you said all of this? So again, you want to summarize everything you've said, and then your maybe concluding sentence within your conclusion would be a final thought, a final idea. You can lend insight. You can pose a solution. You can leave off with a rhetorical question, however you want to do it. But just as every other paragraph is, your conclusion needs to have at least 5 sentences. So again, restating your thesis statement, summarizing everything that you've already said, and then offer an idea, lending insight, however it is you want to close it. All right, so learning outcome 3 is reading and reacting to a summary. So in order to read and react to a summary, you must first read and react to the original text. So this is just an example that you can use to help you get more practice. But on page 348, it discusses religious faith versus spirituality. So you can read that and then try and summarize what the author said, and we'll discuss this more. This concludes summarizing, which is chapter 16. Make sure that you come to class prepared to discuss these things and prepared with questions.